Tap into the minds of the innovators who challenge the status quo with new ideas, systems, and solutions. Welcome to Innovation Mavericks.
Welcome to Innovation Mavericks. My name's Greg Powell. I'm President and CEO of Five Plan Partners. And today I've got a very special guest. I am so thrilled because my mom, Ann Powell, is our guest today here on Innovation Mavericks. She's mom, she's mother-in-law, she's Mimi, she's Ann. And it's great just to have you here. Mom knows the reason I invited her here today is that she is now 90 years old. I think I publicly can say that. Is that okay with you?
It's fine. I'm glad I'm
You're not 90, and later this year you'll be 91.
Right.
Right. So I think she's done an incredible job through all these years embracing change. And that's one reason I asked her to be on with me in this podcast. We have clients that are in their 80s and 90s that will say to me, oh, I don't need to learn this. I don't need to do this. But in reality, I think that you've done an incredible job embracing through all the years, but especially right now at 90 years of age, you use an iPhone, you use an iPad. And then from the standpoint also, I think you have a story to tell to the younger generation who at times I will hear them say, oh, things are so bad right now, or this is so frustrating, when in reality, it's not. And we're just going to talk about kind of your life history, and you and I are just going to have fun, okay. And you just give insight to all our viewers as to what's happened.
Well, I was born in Tryon, Georgia. And then I guess maybe when I was about a year old, my parents moved to the little town Lafayette, Georgia.
Okay.
That's where my dad's family lived.
Right.
And that's where I started to school.
Right.
I started when I was 5 years old, because back then you could go to school before you were 6. I wasn't 6 until September, so they let me start then. And of course, back then you didn't have kindergarten or anything, so first grade was kind of a shock to me.
Yeah.
But that's where I started school. About the middle of the second grade, we moved to Chattanooga. My dad worked, when he was in Lafayette, he worked for Merita Bread. He was a delivery of bread. And he wanted a job where he could make more money and feel like he was supporting his family better.
Yeah.
And so he applied to Southeastern Greyhound, and he got the job. And we had to move to Chattanooga, Tennessee, so he could be within 30 minutes of a phone call that they needed him to come to drive a bus. At that time, Greyhound was moving a lot of the Army troops from place to place. Mm-hmm. And so they needed a lot of extra drivers. My mom nearly worried herself to death that my dad was going to be drafted into the Army. But because he was working for Greyhound and was helping to transport the troops around, well, it kept him out of the Army.
Oh, wow.
He did not have to go in the Army or be in the war.
Sure.
So he drove the bus all through that. Then in Chattanooga, I started to school in the last part of the second grade, and I went to Clifton Hill School to the last part of the fourth grade.
Okay.
And they bought a house in East Ridge.
And so, and you were an only child.
Right.
And so talk about, your memories in terms of just 1935, here you are, as you're growing up as a young girl, things that you remember. Of course, I came later in life, you and Dad met, and I won't talk about that, but, I know about changes there. But at the time, I think you shared with me at one time, they rented a house, but then they borrowed some money to buy a house.
My grandfather had a friend that had money, and he loaned money out. Of course, they paid interest on it. That's how he made his money.
Right.
His name was Mr. Ryan. So my mom and dad borrowed $2,000 from Mr. Ryan, and then of course they paid it back just like you would on a mortgage.
Sure.
And the house needed some repairs.
Yeah, you
on
said he
it.
did a lot of repairs. You told
Yes.
me. Yeah.
And my father was a handyman.
Right.
And so he said he could take care of it. And he did, but we were kind of torn up for 2 or 3
There was always sawdust
years.
somewhere. Yeah.
And I,
Yeah. Tell the story about going up the steps when you first went to look at the house.
well, I had a baby doll with me. And it was one of those that said, Mama, if you jarred it.
Yeah.
And I fell through the steps, and the doll went, Mama. I was not too happy because I liked the house where we were living.
Yeah.
And I was not too happy about moving to that house, but it turned out to be a nice home, and that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I'll go back a few years, and the house that we lived in before we moved to this house, it was a bigger house, but how you heated was with a big old warm heater.
Yeah. There wasn't heating and air.
No, there
No,
was
none.
not.
Right.
And this big old heater, you had to put firewood or coal
Right.
and kerosene in it.
Sure.
My mom had to cook on a big old wood stove that you put wood or coal in it. And there was no hot water. We had running water. But to take a bath, you had to heat your own water on the stove and
Okay.
carry it to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And the bathroom was on the back porch of
Okay.
the house. It did not have any heating, but they had a little
It was
gas
enclosed,
heater.
but
Yeah.
no heat.
Had a little gas heater, and it was like a candle. So in the wintertime, you sort of jumped in the tub and jumped out real quick because it was so cold.
Right.
But when we moved to the other house, it had a bathroom indoor. It did not have hot water,
Okay.
but we had what they called a little monkey heater,
Okay.
which was just so high.
Right.
And it had a big tank sitting by, and the tank had pipes that ran into the monkey heater.
Okay.
So you built a fire in the monkey heater.
Inside your house.
Yes. And it heated up your water.
Okay.
And so you could have hot water to bathe in, wash your dishes.
A little bit
Yeah.
longer than
Right.
what you were used
Right.
to. Yeah.
And my mom, to wash, people have these fancy washing machines now. She had a cast iron pot that had 4 legs on it, and she had to carry the water to it and then build a fire under it
Okay.
and for it to heat the water to wash her clothes.
Right.
She had a big stick that she would stir the pot and move them around.
The clothes.
Well, then, yes. Well, then to rinse them, she had to get that water out and put fresh water in. And then she had to wring them out and hang them on the clothesline.
Yeah.
Now, when your dad and I married, I had a washing machine, but I still had to hang them on the clothesline.
That was 1956 when you and
Right.
Dad married.
Yeah.
So from the 30s or
Yeah.
mid 30s or
Right.
40s, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and see, the electric stove, Mom had that. That would be in the 40s after we moved into the other house that they kind of remodeled.
Right.
Then eventually the hot water heaters came out, so you had that.
Right.
But her washing machine there was out on the back porch, and she had to carry the water to pour in the washing machine,
Okay.
but it would agitate. And then whenever she got ready to wring them, well, it had big rollers. and she had to
I've
run
seen
the
pictures,
clothes through
okay.
the ringers and turn the
Get the water out?
handle, to get the water out, and then dry them on the clothesline.
That's a lot of work. A lot of work.
And even when your dad and I married, I still hung my clothes out.
I remember as a I remember in that house, and I remember the clotheslines.
Yeah.
As a little fella,
Yeah.
I remember that because I had a sandbox out there in the
Yeah.
backyard, and I
Wow.
remember
Yeah.
it was close. It was close to that. So, all right. So, as the war, like World War II, people always talk about, but you were talking to some of the team here about rationing, or
Yes.
you had to have stamps
Yes.
to get things. So Amazon didn't show up at your front door.
No.
Kroger didn't deliver your groceries, or
No.
Publix.
No.
Right. So talk about that a little
We
bit.
did not have big grocery stores.
Okay.
It was more like just a small grocery store.
Locally owned.
Yes. And so you chose the grocery store you liked to go to.
Who treated you the best?
Well, we did not have a car at that time. But
In the 40s.
I had an aunt and uncle that he worked for a car dealership, and they always had a car.
Okay.
And they always seemed to have gas, so my mom went grocery shopping with my aunt,
Yeah. Which
And-
aunt was that?
Willie.
Willie. Okay.
And so Willie was kind of a flirt and a charmer. And
School
they-
teacher.
They went into this one little grocery store doing some shopping, and she got to talking to the owner of the grocery store. And they just kind of hit it off real well. And so he told her, he said, well, don't tell anybody, but said, when I get some sugar and some coffee in, I'll put y'all some back.
Okay.
And so he got to where he'd put back some sugar and coffee
that's nice.
for her and mother.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, that brought business to his little store, too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that's the way things were. But you had ration stamps that you had to use for all of those.
To get food and all those things.
Right, yes. Get gas.
Right.
Tires were rationed during that time. Of course, there wasn't as many cars as there are now.
Right.
So, I guess, another thing that I've seen change, we were so excited when we got a telephone.
Okay.
that
Talk
was-
about that. Yeah, we
yeah.
got our cell phones, and
That was
now we're yelling that they're a nuisance.
that was a landline. Mm-hmm. But when you got it, you were on a 4-party line.
Okay.
So 4 different people were on that same line. You had a certain ring for you, and I think ours was like 2 rings. That meant that if someone
had to call.
calling
Okay.
us, yes. But we had a neighbor that loved all 4 lines. She knew everything that was going on in the neighborhood because she listened and on the phone. So if you didn't want the neighbors to know anything, you didn't tell it on
Right.
the telephone.
Sure. Yeah. How old were you at that time? Do you remember what kind of guesstimate?
Well, I was in elementary
School and all
yes,
that. Okay. Right,
So
okay.
I was probably about 10, 11.
Okay. Okay.
And so, and I went to, I actually went to 3 elementary schools. I started in the 1st grade in Lafayette, Georgia. And then my father got a job in Chattanooga.
And that was with Greyhound?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And he had to live where they could call him and he could be at work for 30 minutes. He was on what they call the extra board. And he didn't have seniority because he just started with them.
Right.
But he ended up working for them for 35 years.
Right.
And he, at that time, drove a lot of the troops
I
from
was going to
place
say,
to
sure.
place.
And he wore a Greyhound bus uniform. Like that was a
Yes.
big deal. Like they were,
Yes.
and they worked with the soldiers,
Yeah,
or I guess
yes,
military.
Yes, and he took them from different areas when they were being transferred
Mm-hmm.
from one place. He had some pretty good stories sometimes to tell about
I'm sure.
about that. And I will brag on him. He was considered one of the best drivers that they had
yeah.
in that division. And whenever they hired new employees, well, they always had to work with him for about 6 to 8 weeks
Oh, that's great. I can
before
see
he could
that.
start
Yeah.
driving a
Yeah.
bus. And so then I went to Clifton Hill School. When we moved to Chattanooga. I went there for 2.5 years, and then we moved to what we called East Ridge, and I went to the elementary school there. And I had to walk to school.
Okay.
And
And
I
how
had
old
to-
were you when you walked to school?
Well, I was in like the 4th grade,
Fourth grade. Okay.
5th and
So
6th.
would you walk by yourself or did
Oh no, it was a community of kids that
Yeah.
walked. We all had to walk,
Right.
and it
There was
was
no
like
buses.
6 or 7 blocks.
Right.
It didn't matter if it was raining, it was cold, or what. You walked.
Yeah.
And sometimes I rode my bicycle, but most of the time I walked. It was more fun walking with all the neighborhood.
Sure. Talking.
Kids.
Sure. Cutting up.
Then when I went to middle school, from then on through high school, I had to ride the school bus. So I was on a,
So a bus showed up at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I just had a block to walk to get on the school bus.
Okay.
So I made it
Sure.
fine.
Right. Another thing that occurred to me when you were talking about Lafayette and my great grandparents or your grandparents. So Big Daddy, as he was called, refresh my memory, but wasn't he a Singer sewing machine
Salesman.
salesman?
Yes.
And he did quite well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then
And he dealt in property also. He would buy some property, and then he would either sell the timber off of it or sell the property. But
Right.
mostly he sold timber off of it.
right. But it also jogged my memory, like growing up, it wasn't like you and my grandmother Houston went to a store to buy your dresses.
I know my mother made everything I had. I did not have a store-bought dress until I was a senior in high school.
Okay. Yeah.
But I felt like I was dressed as well as
Oh, I'm
anybody
sure.
else. She made all of her clothes, and she was very particular about it. I took home ec in high school,
Okay.
and I made this dress that, I was so proud of it. And it was a striped dress, and it had panels in it that went one way and the others went the other way. And I made an A on it. And I took it home, and I was just so happy I made an A on that dress. And my mother tore it apart.
I'm sorry.
So
She did have a standard.
yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yes, and so
She was a big-hearted lady, but she had a standard.
right.
Right.
And you were supposed to meet
that standard, sure.
yes. So anyway, I did okay in home ec. I made an A in home ec, but not with my mother.
Yeah. Lessons learned, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But like you were talking about, you took home ec. So talk about opportunities as you got older for women. I know you went to college for a couple of years, but then you came back home and you got a job offer with Railway Express.
Well,
Or did I have that right?
yeah, pretty much. I was in college, and I was coming home for the summer, and I wanted a job for the summer. And Railway Express was advertising in the paper, looking for people. And so,
And explain what Railway Express did.
well, Railway Express was like UPS.
Okay.
They carried merchandise from place to place, but each railroad had a name. And so with Railway Express on the job, when I went to work there, I had an electric. That's another change from the manual typewriter to electric typewriter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had an
I forgot
electric,
about that one. Yeah.
electric IBM typewriter.
That was big time.
But the carriage was about this long
Okay.
because I started out as a typist. And so I had to type all the different names of the railroads down the side. And we had to do so many sheets a day. And most of our supervisors were women.
Okay.
And the reason there were so many women supervisors, they went to work for Railway Express during the Depression. And at the time they went to work there, and a lot of them were helping their families because Railway Express paid very well.
Yeah.
And so they stayed on, but when they went to work there, if you got married, you automatically lost your job. So, like I said, they were helping their families and they were getting paid well.
Yeah.
And then I was chosen to go, my supervisor chose me to go and be a secretarial assistant to one of the vice presidents. She had a big load and she needed some extra help. And so my supervisor chose me to go and help her. Not only did I help her, but I worked for 4 other men. And some of them had been there. They looked like they were 90. They weren't. They looked like it. And they still chewed. And
Tobacco, so they chew tobacco.
Yeah, they had their spittoon by their desk.
Okay.
And I'd take many a letter to them and dance the jig so I wouldn't
Wouldn't get hit.
tobacco juice on me. But anyway, it was fun.
Sure.
I enjoyed it. And then a job came open as a rate clerk.
Okay.
That meant a promotion, more money, and I bid on that, and I had the seniority to get it.
Okay.
And so that involved rating each railroad for what they had transported it from one place to the other.
Okay.
And again, they kind of kept up with the sheets. And see, the ones that I typed on, well, they went up to the rate clerks.
Okay.
And so we would rate them. And then they went over to they called it the contometer group.
Okay.
Then, where they averaged it out and everything. So then they started putting in computers. And I could have gone to school for that, but I had to ride the city bus home, and I did not. It was after work.
So what year was that on the computers? They called them computers? Is that it?
Well, they didn't really call them computers.
Yeah.
I've forgotten now what they call them. They're great big things, and you could run the time cards through them. And
the punch
like
cards
that.
to get your,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, that may have been the beginning of what later became the computer.
Yeah, it was. That would be like in 54,
Yeah,
55.
Okay.
And but I didn't go to the school. I was happy being a rate clerk. But then Railway Express had a big strike out in California. And that was the beginning and the ending of Railway Express. And UPS was beginning to come along then. And it drifted down. We got to work about 2 years longer, but it finally got the one in Chattanooga. But I got to work about a year longer than most of the people that were hired when I was, because I had been on a job in disbursements, which again was more like a promotion. I got more pay.
Sure.
And what we did, we typed out the invoices for what Railway Express owed.
Right.
And so I did that.
Yeah.
And then it caught up with us, and they called it we were furloughed. Well, we were furloughed, but we still drew a monthly check. It came out of our railroad retirement.
Okay.
And so your dad got used to me being at home and having dinner ready when he came home from work, and I was drawing a paycheck. So I was you were supposed to be looking for a job, but you did not have to take one unless it paid what you made.
Right, okay.
And there wasn't many that paid what Railway Express paid. TVA did.
Okay.
But I did not want to work for TVA. And so I didn't find a job, so I kept getting, but you had to, they checked on it to
Yeah.
see if you were looking for a job. But anyway, then I became pregnant with you.
Yeah.
And so instead of drawing my unemployment, I'll call it that now, they put me on maternity leave. And so I drew my paycheck just like I was working the whole time.
Oh,
I
wow.
was
So
expecting
Railway
you.
Express was a good place. They,
Oh, yeah.
They treated everybody really
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it was wonderful as far as the retirement. It was a good place to work.
Yeah.
The only thing was we were in an old building. It was not air conditioned.
Oh, wow.
And
Good hot.
it was hot. And I can remember walking to the bus to go home, and my dress.
And the bus to ride back to your house.
Yes, this is a city, what they call a
You didn't
city
have a
bus.
car waiting
Didn't
on you
have
in
a
the parking
car,
lot.
No.
Right.
And I would have, my dress would be wet from my shoulders to the bend of my knees.
Wow.
That's how hot it was.
Yeah.
And there, they had fans around, but it still
Sure.
was a hot place. But it wasn't the only place to work that didn't have air
Right.
conditioning.
Well, and I remember you telling the story because Dad went back on the GI Bill to get his college education.
Right.
He got drafted, and he always said the military was one of the best things that happened to him.
Right.
It opened his eyes to the world. And he went and he got an accounting degree. But when y'all got married, you were making more money than him,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a degree, and I was making more money
Yeah.
than he was. Yes.
At that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell the story because I always, I was always fascinated by this. Grandmother Houston's like when they got married, she didn't have a diamond ring.
Mm-hmm.
She had just a band, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And she always wanted a diamond ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think also her china. Didn't she save up S&H green stamps so she could have the diamond ring and she could have the...
No, she bought the diamond ring.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she saved up her
money
and she bought it.
Right.
But she did save S&H green stamps.
Okay, explain that, because I remember as a kid, those were still around, but you went and you shopped at the grocery store. As grocery stores became, I guess, bigger, or did even the smaller?
They were bigger.
Yeah.
They weren't like the supermarkets we have now, but they were bigger grocery stores.
Right.
And they would give you so many stamps to the total of the groceries that you bought. And she saved them up until she got enough to get her China.
So it'd be like us now getting travel points or points at like a reward points.
Yeah, with your credit card.
But you had books, and you had to stick those stamps in those books, and then so many books would get you something. Is that right?
That's right.
So her china came from S&H green stamp.
And she ended up getting her crystal that way also.
Okay, that's what I remember that. I remember her doing that.
Yeah. Then the next thing was when I was in junior high school, well, before then, the radio was our entertainment. Music, there was programs like Amos and Andy, Burns and Allen, the Lux Radio Theater. I loved the Lux Radio Theater.
Yeah, what'd you love about it?
Well, it was like going to a theater.
Okay.
But they were
performers and
performing on there. And it came on Monday night. But I always had to have my homework done before I could listen to it.
Okay, I did not know that.
I would always get my homework done early so I could listen to the Lux Radio Theater.
Yeah.
Well, my grandparents got a TV, and it was just...
Was this on the Houston side?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it's a Big Daddy.
The screen wasn't much bigger than that picture right up there.
Yeah.
And it came out of Atlanta, and you had to have an antenna on the roof of your house that you thought was reaching to the heavens. That's how tall it was. Well, we finally got one, And it was same thing, just a little square box. And it came out of Atlanta. Sometimes you got clear pictures and sometimes you got snowy pictures.
Yeah, okay.
But we went from the radio to the TV.
I
And
got
your
you.
daughters have asked me, Mimi, what did Daddy watch when he was little? And when I told them that we only had 3 stations at
Yeah.
that time, and they were black and white, they couldn't believe it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah.
They couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Well, then they wanted to know, when did you get your Game Boy? And I said, well, your dad was almost in high school before we had something like that. We didn't call it Game Boy. What was it?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember. Some kind of Atari or...
Well, you had remote, and it was on the TV.
Right, it's on the TV, yeah.
And it had
I say
games.
Atari, but yeah, you could do
Yeah.
stuff on the TV.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But-
And they said, he was that old?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like me telling them they could have a cell phone, and
Yeah.
when at the age I got mine, and they're like, "Well, how old were you?" And I was like 35 years old or whatever.
Right.
They were like, "You got to be kidding
Right.
me!" Yeah.
Well, just like I've told them, they've been on an airplane since they were just infants.
Yeah.
And I was 40 years old before I ever got on an airplane
Right.
and went somewhere.
Sure. And that, I mean, you and I talked about this one time. So, as you were growing up, trains and buses were the way you got
That's
around.
the way you travel.
And then over time, talk a little bit about airplanes or how you traveled.
Well, of course, growing up, my dad worked for Southeastern Greyhound, so when we had to travel, we finally got a car. I'll tell that story. We got a car in 1949, and Mother and Dad bought it at Christmas. And there was several little things I had on the list. I think I was in the 9th grade that I wanted for Christmas. Well, they informed me that the car was going to be part of my Christmas.
Oh,
There
wow.
might be a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think they thought I would just be jumping up and down. Well, I was kind of ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't have been, but there were certain things I wanted.
Sure.
And I wasn't going to get them for Christmas, and I knew my friends were going to get what they wanted.
Yeah.
But the car turned out to be a wonderful thing because my mom was very good to take me and my friends to the movie, to the park, anywhere
Yeah.
we wanted
Sure.
to go. It was just I didn't see it at that time.
And that's understandable.
you
Sure,
know.
yeah, because she would take Grandfather Houston to the bus station, just drop him
Right.
off, so then
Yeah.
she'd have the car.
Then she'd have the car. Yes, we could go anywhere we wanted to.
Right. And air conditioning, tell about that, because I know you told me that your family was one of the first to have
Yeah.
air conditioning unit in the window, right?
Yes.
Talk
yes.
about that.
Well, it was hot during the summers. And I can remember laying at the foot of my bed. I had a window right there at the foot of my bed, just praying that a breeze would come through. That's
Sure.
how hot
Right.
it was.
Right.
Well, as we've said, my dad worked for Southeastern Greyhound, and he drove from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Macon, Georgia. Well, he had to stay in Macon, Georgia, because he had to have at least 8 hours of rest before he could drive back to Chattanooga.
Okay.
And Greyhound rented so many rooms in a hotel, and that hotel was air conditioned. Well, he could sleep real well there, but then when he came home, he didn't sleep well because it was so hot.
Yeah.
So he decided he was going to splurge and get us a window air conditioner. And my mom and I thought we'd died and gone to heaven when we got there.
When to send him on more bus trips. See what else he could find.
So, well, he bought me a bicycle for my birthday and
Okay.
brought it home because he had some time to kill before his run left
Yeah.
Macon, Georgia.
Sure.
And I had a birthday coming up, and so he went out and bought me a swing bicycle and brought it back
Oh,
on the
that's
bus.
good. You've
yeah.
never told me that story.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he did some special things like
right.
that.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of changes in appliances,
Right.
the way homes are built.
Yeah. Well, so you and Dad, I remember Sunnydale Lane because that's where I was. When I was born, that's where we lived. And I think you told the story the house was $11,000. Is that right? That was your total mortgage. That you'd pay it off at $11,000, and there was a big debate about you and Dad adding an extra bathroom for $500, and Dad thought that was too much.
Right. Yes. And our monthly payment was $75.
Right. Yeah.
And so we started out, it was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, had living room, dining room, kitchen, and it was very, very comfortable. It was a ranch. We furnished 3 rooms of it. And your dad got a VA loan on it.
Yeah, because he served in the military.
Right. And so we closed out, or he closed out the house before we got married. And so later we had to go and renew the loan, and so it'd be in my name too.
Sure.
And but we started out that way. Eventually furnished it all.
Yeah.
And when you were born, we got a window air conditioner. We had just a big fan in the window that kept it cool before you were born.
Yeah.
We didn't want our baby sweating.
No, I totally agree with that. I've always been high maintenance.
So
Always high maintenance.
And I got a dryer
Okay.
because I did not want.
Oh, explain that. So you got a dryer, but back then they used cloth diapers, right? Explain that.
Yes. And they had diaper service that would come and pick up the dirty diapers and leave you clean diapers.
Okay.
But I didn't want my baby wearing some diapers that some other
Go mom.
baby
Go mom.
had worn. So I washed and dried my own diapers.
Okay.
And so, and of course now they have disposable diapers.
Oh yeah. I mean, those are the kind of things I'm talking about that people have forgotten.
Yeah.
Like disposable diapers. The phone is in your pocket, or yours is in your purse. The convenience of so many things that we have, and all the things you had to do just to get things done.
Well, and also you had to sterilize bottles.
Okay, yeah, because they were
Baby
glass,
bottles.
right?
Yes, they were glass, and you had to sterilize them, and you had to mix your own formula. The doctor gave you the ingredients and how much to give,
Right.
and so you had to make your own formula for your baby.
Right. Right.
You couldn't go and just buy a can like they do now.
Right. So in terms of changes like that, so like you said, you've seen big changes in appliances. So just like the refrigerator, all these things like that, radio, television. What other?
Well, cars.
Okay.
Cars now have air conditioning.
Yeah, because when I was born, the car y'all had no air conditioning.
That's right.
And then when Jeffrey was born, which would have been 63, you got a car with air conditioning.
It was a 64.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first car we had with air conditioning.
Yeah.
And also they have automatic transmissions now. I had to learn to drive on a straight shift car.
Yeah.
And then when your dad and I married, he had a straight shift car. By that time, my parents had gotten one with automatic transmission, and I loved driving that car.
Sure.
And we got married in 56, and then in 57 we got a new car, and it had the automatic transmission.
Okay. It was a Chevrolet.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And but just think the cars,
Sure.
how much they've got on them now. You talk on the phone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You see me talk
Yeah.
to my car all the time.
And see, when you go on a trip,
To the Siri.
you're very comfortable because you've got air conditioning. When y'all were little and we went to the beach, every window in the car was rolled down.
Yeah.
And
And it was 2-lane highway too.
yes,
Yeah.
it's 2-lane highways. and you didn't have 4 lanes where you could zip on through
Sure.
around somebody that was slowpoke.
Right, I'd go nuts. I would go nuts. Let me ask you this. So we talked about 1963. So you had the Cuban Missile Crisis,
Yes.
and also then you had the Kennedy assassination. Now I remember being a little fella, and Grandmother and Grandfather Houston are sitting over here because we had that long kind of room there on Sunnydale. And you and Dad were sitting over there, and Grandmother Houston was crying, and the TV was in the middle there at the end of the room. And it was black and white. And that's, I remember at the time I didn't know what it was, but that was them showing the Jack Ruby shooting, you know. Kennedy had been assassinated. And I remember that and asking Grandmother why she was so sad or whatever. But what about the Cuban Missile Crisis? I've never asked you about that. Were y'all really like, we could have missiles coming in here at any time? What, talk
We
about
didn't
that.
know.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody was very uneasy because we felt like it could happen.
right.
And that was, I was expecting your brother then.
Okay, right.
And the thought occurred to me, what will I do having this baby if something happens?
Right.
You know?
Sure.
So, and that was all that was on the news. So you were kind of uptight because you didn't know whether it was going to happen or not.
Right.
Thank goodness it didn't
Sure.
happen.
Right.
And then, of course, I remembered the Kennedy assassination because I was folding diapers
Okay.
when it came
When
on
the news
TV,
came on,
broke-
Walter Cronkite and all
breaking
that.
news, yeah. And told that he had been assassinated.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Mom, let me ask you another question. Innovation is one of the keys to America's success. We're constantly innovating to make things better. But in your lifetime, when did you feel the most innovation, where things were changing a lot faster, or a good time when they were changing, where made life easier, or you had access to more things? Does that make sense? Like people say, well, those were the good old days. Well, the good old days because they moved slower and there wasn't as much innovation? Or was it because there was a lot of innovation and people enjoyed how life was evolving at that time?
Well, I guess I can say one thing is as a child, I think that we enjoyed things more than young children do today.
Okay.
Because we played outside as a neighborhood. We weren't sitting in front of a TV or
Computer screen.
your phone or something.
Right. iPad.
But after World War II, that's when things really started changing. The appliances started changing. Life started getting easier because of those changes. Homes started being built. New neighborhoods were popping up because they had all these servicemen coming back and had families. They needed homes
Yeah.
to live in. And so I think that right after World War II, that's when things just really started changing. And I think since then they've just continued to improve and advance.
So do you think life's easier now than it was back 20, 30 years ago?
As far as certain things, I think it's easier, but I also think there's more pressure in life now than there was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Everybody is striving to do better at their jobs. They want more for their children. I just think that there's more pressure.
Intensity.
Yes. There's more information out there all the time. You're getting something at you all the time, where back then you weren't.
Yeah. In other words, the news was the news at 6 p.m. and
Yeah.
or the morning newspaper came, but then you kind of went on about your business.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people went to work a little more relaxed than they are now.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think some people probably, because the work area is so tense at times, they have trouble sleeping at night. We're used to, you go home and you leave it at the door.
Right.
You don't take it in.
Well,
That
and
makes
things were
sense?
expensive. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and they were expensive back then, but they're even more expensive now. So that pressure, like you and Dad bought that first house after you got married. Today people talk about young couples can't afford a new house to buy because it's what they've got to just give in down payment. Now, there's all kinds of debates on that.
Well, see, I think we just had to pay a down payment of $1,000.
Yeah.
And then our
But $1,000 back then was still a lot of money.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And then our monthly payment was $75.
Yeah.
And where now you can't even rent an apartment for $75.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, you couldn't even.
know,
Yeah, you're paying in some cases, depending on when people locked in their mortgages, the apartment monthly payment costs more than what they would have if they'd gotten a mortgage back. When interest rates were lower.
Yeah.
So there's all those the complexity of all that.
I just think life back then was more relaxed than it is now. There's so much more you can do. Work, there's pressure at work. You start out maybe at the bottom, but you're always pushing to move up,
Right.
to make more money where you can give more to your family. You've got children now. When I was growing up, I did go to college 2 years, but you just really didn't think about going to college. Now then, these young people today, college is there.
Right.
And
They got to do it.
Yeah, and parents got to support that.
Sure. $40,000, $50,000, $60,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just think there's more pressure in life now, even though we've got things that make life easier as far as everyday living.
Right.
But I think life is more pressure. And see, as kids, I grew up where we were outside playing, running around. We didn't go to kindergarten and things like that, but we learned to deal with different personalities. We might like this kid, but we'd still let them play,
Yeah.
And we didn't think about a lot of
Right. The interaction.
things like on the phone. And your
Yeah.
teachers could hug you
Right.
without parents making a big deal about
Right.
it. I mean, I had one teacher in 5th grade, I just absolutely loved her. She was just wonderful to all of us.
Yeah.
And children are under stress just going to school now. Y'all weren't, I never thought about somebody walking in my school with a gun. And children today know about that.
Oh yeah, you're right. There's you talk to kids about school, and that usually somewhere along the line it'll come up about a school shooting.
Yeah. And there's some of them that don't want to go to school because they have that fear.
Right. That's homeschooling and all that. That's why
Right.
it's developed the way it has. If you had a crystal ball, where would you like for things to go?
I would like for things to kind of go back to some of the old ways.
Yeah.
I know we'd be going backwards, but where people could relax and enjoy one another.
Yeah. Kindness, respect.
I think I just would like to see things peaceful
Yeah.
for everybody.
Sure.
Of course, the war,
Mm-hmm.
World War II, that was a big thing because it was always on the radio, and it was like if you went to the movies, well, they always had a segment where they showed stuff about the war. So I guess that is maybe I remember more about that than some of the other things.
Yeah.
Because
You were young and yeah.
And I remember one night my dad was out, he was out of town, and I wanted to sleep with my mom that night, and she let me. And we had blackout times that you had to have your
Okay.
lights off.
Right.
And so everything was dark. We were laying in the bed, and I heard a plane fly over. And I remember asking my mom, could that be the Germans?
Okay. Yeah. It was in
You
your
know,
head. Sure.
Yeah, because, like I said, that on the radio, that was all you were hearing. And if you were fortunate to go to a movie, well, then that was in the news
Sure.
at the movie. So I guess that was really the thing that I really remember, and the rationing and things like that.
Sure.
But I also remember Reagan being assassinated, or,
Sure.
and then Kennedy, and all about that.
Sure.
But at that time, I was a busy mom.
Right.
And maybe I didn't pay as much attention to
Yeah,
it.
trying to raise two sons.
Yeah.
Had a lot going on
Right.
between us going to school and then all the activities we had
Right.
going on.
Right.
Yeah. So another thing that's changed is in terms of weddings. So you and Dad. So first of all, I think you and Dad were. People would go out to the airport to watch the flights coming in because that was the new thing, right? Yeah. And he proposed to you there.
Right.
Yeah. In the car, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of said, you want to get
Yeah.
married? Had the ring, right?
Right, yeah.
It wasn't some big production like we have today.
No.
Yeah.
But we did have a nice formal wedding,
Yeah.
church wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember how many you had at your wedding, or you just a guess?
Oh, there was about 300 people.
Really? So that's a big wedding. And then
Yeah.
reception was at the church, right?
Yes. Back then, you always had the reception at the church.
Right.
Had cake, punch, mints, nuts. You didn't have a big sit-down dinner or
Right.
anything. Same way with the rehearsal dinner. It was very informal.
And didn't y'all have your engagement picture was in the newspaper?
Yes.
Is that right? So somebody from the newspaper came and took it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you had to schedule that and be ready.
Yeah.
Peggy and I were laughing the other day. Our engagement pictures that we had, I think we got them done at J.C. Penney's. So, we were laughing about that and how now everybody's just snapping
Yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
left and right.
When we got engaged, the bride always had her picture in the newspaper.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate mine got on the front page of the society.
Oh, wow. Look
Part.
at you.
And
I did not know that.
Yes. And so, and then, as you said, our engagement announcement was in the paper.
Right.
And then after we got married, well, there was a picture of me in the paper in my bridal gown
Yeah.
and the write-up about our wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the way they did things back then.
Right. Yeah. All
Now
that's
it's
all that's
all-
gone.
Now
It's all
it's
social
on
media.
social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have more control of that because you had to accept whatever the paper printed, right?
Right, yeah.
And you really didn't know when it was going to come out. Would they
No.
kind of tell you it may be
No,
right?
no, you just turned it all in to them, and then
Right.
they took care of it from there.
Sure. Other big changes that you've seen or had to embrace, or a time period that you thought was a tough time to embrace new change. Anything you can think of?
Well, in life there's always ups and downs.
Sure.
And
Probably economic
Changes.
cycles.
Yeah.
Economic
Yeah.
cycles that you and Dad went through.
yeah, you always have that.
Right.
And
70s, in the 70s. Of course, y'all were in your house, but double-digit interest rates,
yeah,
in during the Carter administration, 78,
Right.
79, 80, and 81. And I was in college at that time. So I didn't know, I mean, y'all y'all pulled off a lot, and there I was in college.
Yeah.
You know, so that was. I now have a greater appreciation for all that y'all were doing during those time periods. You know, not knowing.
We tried.
Yeah. I mean, you know, till you get that first mortgage payment, it doesn't fully hit you, right? True.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So from the standpoint, fast forward here. Here I am now, and I'm 67. You're 90 year old. So talk about, as you've aged, things that you've had to adjust to. I mean, from the standpoint of you still watch. I know you still watch your TV, but you're socially active, right?
Right.
And then the technology you get on. I know you do searches on your iPad and
Yes.
those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's phases
Okay.
in your life
Right.
that you go through. You're getting married. You adjust to one another and make a life for one another. Then you hit middle age
Sure.
and things change socially at times,
Right.
financially,
Yeah.
and then you get to the older age, and then you begin to get more aches and pains.
But I think you've handled your aches and pains real well. You exercise. You
Right.
yeah.
I had someone ask me not long ago if I was 87 years old, and I said, no. And I said, I'm 90. And they kind of shook their head like they didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how old are you? And they said, 87. And said, what changes, what makes 90 special? And I said, well, just a few more aches and pains. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I just think you have phases and you adjust to them.
Yeah. But I think you've been great. Like just like on your cell phone, you'll text your granddaughters, our daughters.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you communicate with them.
I really communicate by text sometimes more than I do talking.
Okay, and that's with a lot of family members too.
Yes.
Yeah, doing a lot of texting,
Yeah.
which I think's
Since
just
I don't
incredible.
have siblings, well, I have a lot of cousins
Okay.
that live in different states.
Yeah.
And I'm in touch with them. Some of them are younger than I,
Yeah.
but I keep in touch with them. I have pictures of their grandchildren on my phone, and so we're texting back and forth. They're telling me what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't always have a lot to tell them what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They might think what I'm doing's boring, but it's fine with me.
Sure.
And so, yes, I text a lot to cousins.
Yeah. And talking about your granddaughters and texting with them and everything. So, you and Dad had a lot of fun with them
Oh, yes.
as grandparents. Yeah, you didn't think you were going to be grandparents, and then all of a sudden, Peggy and I had 3 in a row, right?
On the third one made your dad say, I think I need a glass of wine.
Right. He was a little surprised there. So that's okay though. It's turned out great. So in terms of watching them grow up and all the things, that the way the world has changed from the time I grew up, from the time you grew up, all the technology, all the things that they do. What you have any wisdom as their grandmother that you would share with them now at the age of 90?
If they're career oriented, I would say shoot for the stars. Go for it.
Okay.
If they're married, I would say communicate well with one another.
Okay. Yeah, because you and Dad were married
57 years.
57. Yeah.
Yes. do not go to bed mad at one another,
Okay.
and always ask God for wisdom
Okay. That's
to
good.
help you get through whatever problem you think it is
Yeah.
that you have,
Right.
because He's always there.
That's great. I'm sure you talked to him about me, so I'm.
Yes, many times. And there's not a manual out there to tell you what to do in marriage or in raising your children.
Right. Right.
And you never know. Each one, I was an only child, and one day I heard a mother say her children were as different as daylight and dark. And I didn't understand that. They got the same mother and dad. How can they be so different?
Right.
Your brother was in the world 6 weeks, and I understood.
You knew right. You knew then.
Right.
Sure.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sure.
Because you do have different personalities
Sure.
to deal with.
Sure. Well, and at the age of 90, so you always look forward to things. So what do you look forward to at the age of 90, going forward?
Well, right now, the biggest thing I look forward to is seeing my youngest granddaughter get married.
Yeah. Got that coming up in February.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes. I'm very excited for her, and just hope I'm where I can go to the wedding.
Oh, you'll be there. I'm not worried about that. You'll be ready. I've been with you before. You've been down there to see her in Baton Rouge, and you stayed up till midnight or 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a night owl anyway.
Right.
You know, you read your books.
I
I always
do.
know you read a lot of
I
books.
read till 2:00 this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow. See, I think that's another thing. You gave me that. I'm a bookaholic, and I love to read. And so it's I'm glad you gave that interest in books is big. Well, anything else that you want to talk about in terms of change or innovation or life in general that you can think of?
No, the one thing is, don't worry about your age.
Okay.
Just enjoy your age. Be thankful for every day and enjoy living that day. And don't worry about, oh, I'm in my 60s now, I'm getting old. You're not old unless you think you are.
I think those words of wisdom. So I like
Just
that. Yeah.
don't worry about your age.
Okay.
And
Well, I think I'm still 36, so
Okay.
I'm going strong. So I'll stick with that. And,
I always said I was 29 and holding.
there you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Well, I have treasured this. I love you.
Love you too very much.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom here. So, folks, this has been a very special time for my mom and me. I hope you've gotten wisdom out of it as well, but also that you've heard some of the wisdom or nuggets that she's given to just as you age, to embrace change, to embrace innovation, and to enjoy life to the fullest. We hope you've enjoyed this Innovation Mavericks, and we look forward to bringing more wisdom your way. Thanks for watching, and we will talk soon.